Cornice de Wheel Cornell Medical College, the Hippocratic Oath states that a doctor vows to honor the profession of medicine, to be just and generous to its patients, and to help sustain them in their service to humanity. They vow to not withdraw from their patients in their time of need, and that above all else, they are to serve within the patient's interests. Once reading this, I grew very interested into the fact of Nazi doctors in relation to this course. For I feel as if Nazi doctors have broken every guideline and every vow stated within the Hippocratic Oath. I did not face any challenges whatsoever when facing this topic when looking it up online. I found very credible sources, and today I will be sharing the ways in which these doctors have broken the Hippocratic Oath through my reliable sources today. The first Nazi doctor I researched was Dr. Joseph Mengele. In 2 articles written by Below, and the other an article titled Dr. Joseph Mengele, I discovered that Mengele was one of the most wanted criminals after the war. He was a geneticist scientist, and he worked within Auschwitz. He was also the chief provider of gas chambers. Now, the main focus of Mengele's work was on the concept of identical twins. He was fascinated by them. He wanted to learn how to induce multiple births so that he could repopulate Germany with millions of Germans. He would run experiments to measure their body types. He created eye drops to change the twins' eye colors. And he even created molds that would take shape of the structure of twins' mouth. When Mengele finished the experiments, he would then murder them and photograph the changes that he could see on the outside of their bodies. Once he could no longer see any significant changes, he would examine their organs and donate them for further research to the Institute of Biological, Racial, and Evolutionary Research located within Berlin. Another Nazi doctor I researched was Dr. Herta Oberhuser. In 2 articles by Below, Schmalow, and Blaney, I discovered that Oberhuser was a physician at the Ravensbrück concentration camp located in northern Germany. She performed experiments that were mainly on children. She would insert oils and EpiPen injections into their bloodstreams. She would then remove their limbs along with their vital organs and leave them for dead. Another experiment she ran was the concept of purposely inflicting wounds to her patients that were similar to the wounds found on German soldiers. Once inflicting these wounds, she would then rub various objects such as rusty nails, shards of glass, dirt, and wood into these wounds, and she would study the effects that these objects had on them. The effects led to multiple diseases and various illnesses, and then she would step back and admire them. My next Nazi doctor, Karl Brandt, known as Hitler's own personal doctor, was in charge of all medical operations, for he was appointed as Reich Commissioner for Sanitation and Health. He worked within Camp Auschwitz and was co-director of the euthanasia program. The euthanasia program was in charge of the execution of aged, insane, ill, and deformed children, and they would execute them through the lethal injections in nursing homes, asylums, and hospitals. He also pushed the testing of enforced sterilization. He conducted medical experiments to see what type of sterilization could kill the most amount of Jews within the least amount of time. These experiments he conducted involved freezing experiments, malaria experiments, nerve regeneration, bone transplant experiments, and many more unethical experiments. The final Nazi doctor I discovered was Dr. Karl Klauberg. Through an article by Below, Lifton, Tyson, and Pellegrino, I discovered that Klauberg was one of the most feared doctors by all women and most men. He was placed in charge of conducting artificial insemination experiments. He would tell his patients that he was injecting them with animal sperm, and that monsters were growing within the women's wombs, like the real monsters the Jews were. He would also position women and men in between 2 x-rays aiming the x-rays at their sexual organs. Many died on the spot. However, if they did not die, they were immediately gassed. He would then remove their sexual organs and send them to Breslau for further histopathological examination. Therefore, once researching these various Nazi doctors, my opinion has remained the same. Like I've stated, I've faced no challenge in confirming that statement as well. Doctors are supposed to make you feel safe. They're supposed to make you feel secure and that your life is in good hands. However, the only thing these Nazi doctors did would put the lives of the Jews in constant fear, and they only left them for dead. Thank you.